welcome to another episode of Sitecore Tech Talks. Today we will have Shabeer with us, and with whom we will discuss about connecting the XM Cloud to the outer world using Edge and GraphQL. So let's welcome Shabeer. Welcome,
Hi,
man.
Alok.
Okay, so Shabeer is having 10 plus years in the development industry. Since last 8 years, he is working on Sitecore. So Shabeer, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good, Alok. Thanks for having me in this session.
So let's get started with the tech talks. Okay. So what is Experience Edge and how it relate to GraphQL?
So, if you talk about Experience Edge is an API platform provided by Sitecore, where you can actually use GraphQL to connect to that API. So, it's using the Experience Edge, you will be able to access the content which is hosted in your XM Cloud, the items, the layouts, the media. You can access that using the GraphQL queries. So that's the whole idea of Experience Edge.
Okay. Okay. And how Experience Edge benefits business and end users?
Yeah, so in many ways, Experience Edge benefits the business users. So primarily to start with, if we talk about earlier, we used to have a large infrastructure hosting a Sitecore. You have a CM servers, you have your CD servers, and all the other things related to it. So now, even if after you go live with any of the website, you always need the continuous monitoring support of all these infrastructures and maintenance to those. Now, as we are moving to the real world of all these SaaS products and all that, Experience Edge gives you that freedom where you are not worried about your infrastructure. And this Experience Edge is hosted by Sitecore, maintained by Sitecore, updated by Sitecore, supported by Sitecore. So you don't need to worry about supporting any of your infrastructure side of it. That's the main benefit of using it. Next, it is scalable. How scalable it is? It is highly scalable, where it will benefit your end user to reach out the content as fast as possible, because it is scaled to an extent where it actually talks to a nearest server, which is for you. Third one, you can have your content hosted in one place and distributed across all channels.
Okay.
So because it's a API service, you'll be able to connect using different applications. You'll be able to talk to Experience Edge and get the data. So take an example. You have a website, you have a mobile app, you have an app, so watch, you have a kiosk.
Right.
Okay. So you wanted to have the same content across all of your channels so that it benefits your brand values and all that. So how can you do that? You have an XM Cloud, you change one content, publish it to Experience Edge. That means all of your applications which is talking to Experience Edge is actually getting the real-time data now. You don't need to have a multiple hosting of content or anything like that. It's one content distributed across all channels. So it explores the possibility of your omni-channel.
Right. So my next question is Experience Edge available only for XM Cloud?
No. So Experience Edge is not only available for XM Cloud. For XM Cloud, it is out of the box. So if you purchase an XM Cloud, so Experience Edge comes out of the box. There is no CD server for XM Cloud.
Right.
So whatever the normal publishing strategies you use will always goes to Experience Edge. But in terms of XM, you'll have to take an additional step. So you have the possibility either hosting a CD server or you can have Experience Edge. So how do you do that? You will have to install a couple of you will have to install a package for XM Cloud. Sorry, not XM Cloud. It will be for Experience Edge connector. So there will be an Experience Edge connector which is available for XM. You can use that one to make sure you have an additional publishing target, which is Edge. So now what happens? You have an XM which anywhere can be hosted, and then you can have a Edge connector which actually can publish all of your content back to Experience Edge. From there you take it forward. So you have that flexibility available for if you are using XM.
Okay. Okay. So you talk about Experience Edge. Okay. Now, why GraphQL?
Good question. So you can have, say, you have Experience Edge, and why don't you use the normal API or the REST API services? Why specifically go for GraphQL? So to understand that, you'll have to learn more about like how GraphQL works, what's GraphQL and all that. So GraphQL is an API service which is originated by, or is actually developed by Facebook developers to use in their application. Then they made it open source so that it can be used outward. So now advantages of using GraphQL is that it actually gives you a flexibility to have one URL, it's one endpoint basically, and then you can talk to him, you can talk to that endpoint in various ways and can get the output, desired outputs. So usually what happens is REST APIs, you cannot control your outputs. So it's like you have a REST API, you ask for something, it gives you its own desired output. You cannot control the output. Say like you're getting 100 lines, you're saying I only want first or these many fields out of it. So you don't have that control in the REST API. But GraphQL provides you a schematic structure where you can actually define your outputs as well. Okay, so now take an example of you are accessing an item. Okay, so now that item has say 100 fields, but when you wanted to really talk about that and say like I only want 3 fields out of it. Okay, so GraphQL provides you that flexibility. Talk to Experience Edge and say, okay, I wanted to access this item with this language, but I only want these fields to be there. Okay.
So where you provide this particular filters, I would say.
So Experience Edge, like say for testing purpose and all, like say you want to, to start with, say like I want to filter out or I want to try out my queries. So if there is no possibility of testing your queries, that leads to a lot of chaos. Like if you're developing an application which connects to Experience Edge, you don't have a feasibility where you can test out your queries, then you are like firing queries without knowing what can happen. No, Experience Edge provides you a UI. So that actually gives you a UI where you can test out your queries. You just have to provide your API key and then fire queries. It will give you output. If there is an error, it will show what is the error. So it gives you that flexibility of developing by knowing that, okay, what I want, what I can exclude. And one more benefit is it's strongly typed. If you have a definite template defined for specific items and all, you can get that and then basically create the structure same as your template, all that. So it gives you all those flexibility. That is why I think gone with GraphQL.
So you mentioned using GraphQL, we can get the output which we require. Instead of depending or getting the full output, I will get only those 3 fields which you have mentioned. Okay, because those are the only things, only fields which I needed. So I think it is depending or using the filtration. Okay, so what are the filtrations which are supported by Experience Edge GraphQL?
So Experience Edge supports most of the filters available. Like it can filters based on the fields, get an item by ID, by path. It can get you a list of items, and most powerfully, it can use a filter called search, which actually provides you most of the flexibility which we used to do earlier with a Solar search or any other search provider. We used to do it. So now take an example of what we used to do in most of the cases when we use Solar search. What we used to do, we used to pass a path, template ID, and then say like give me these many number of items and go on like sort by based on and all that. So these all things you can actually use in Experience Edge using the GraphQL. So you can pass the search and then you can provide filters based on like the template, the path and the language and all that stuff. So which actually gives you like number of you love to specify a page size when you are giving the search. Okay, so and it actually gives you cursors. So this is not page based search, it is a cursor based search. What do I mean by cursor?
Yeah, what is
so that's the question. So now, if you take an example of a page where you have like a lazy load, so like I load the 3 items first, then I go down, load the 3 next. So you actually don't need a pagination there. You can do cursor based. So what I do is, first time when I hit the search query, it comes back with a query. A cursor.
Right.
That cursor, if I pass in the next search query, it actually gives me the next 3 items. No, it can't go on. So it will always give you an end cursor. That end cursor you will give it as a start cursor for the next query. So that is what is going on.
Okay. So is there any limitation on filtration using GraphQL?
So I won't say limitations, because this is just released maybe 6 months, or like it is very new product in the market.
Okay.
So it'll have its own feedbacks to be implemented and all that. Right now, I don't think the pagination is supported. As I mentioned, like if you wanted to say like I wanted to get an item with this page number, with this page size, that's not supported, I guess. But I think it will be provided if you really want it. So like I'll take an example. We had an issue with like we were not able to use a specific filters. So what we did is we reached out to Sitecore.
Okay.
But the surprising thing was that because it's a SaaS product, they can update it anytime. Right. So they were able to update those which was not available at that time. They were able to implement it in a couple of weeks. And then we were able to use that in our project itself. So that's like a giant leap from what we had earlier. Right. We had to either migrate or wait for a support package to do all these stuffs. Now, see, we don't need to worry about what they are changing. They are changing at their end. They are managing at their end. So the best thing is that you can always reach out to the support team if any issues on any of these services, like the Experience Edge, XM Cloud, or any of those SaaS product services. So they were able to quickly resolve most of the issues within a span of time. So it's a bigger advantage, which because if we don't have anything or any limitations we see, if we reach out to them, even for them it's a benefit. They are understanding what is the need of the customers and all that. So I think probably in some time they'll be in a matured state with no limitations at all.
And one last question from my side is, as you mentioned, it is a new product. Okay. So is there any enough documentation or videos available on the net?
Yes, of course. Sitecore provides enough documentation for Experience Edge as well as XM Clouds. Even they have documentations on the sample GraphQL queries, which you can easily work with. Like once you have the sample queries, you can take that, play around with in the Edge UI, which I mentioned. So you can play around with that, and then you can make your own queries and also. But I would say the documentation is enough, but it's still a work in progress, so we'll have more.
Okay. So thank you, Shabeer, for coming to the show and sharing your knowledge on Experience Edge and GraphQL.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We hope you guys like our videos. I would like to also thank Varun, who is behind the camera, and Harsh Mithapara, who supported us in recording this video. Cheers. See you in the next episode.